Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rock Squad podcast, the latest in everything rock music. My name is Nick Chino. I'm one of your hosts of this fine program, joined by my co-host, Mr. Dave Marini. How's it going, Dave?
Hey, Nick, how's it going? Hey, everybody, before we get going, make sure that you like this video and you subscribe to this podcast. Hit the little bell so that every time we put up a new video, it comes up and you can follow along. And also at the end, make sure you write a review so that we know how you liked it or what you didn't like, or, you know, any of that, any comments. Happy to hear what you have to say.
So this is the inaugural episode of the Rock Squad podcast. And Dave and I have been musicians and band members together for many years and friends for a long time. And we always wanted to start up a podcast about rock music and kind of more of a mainstream kind of discussion, because, you know, there's a lot of metal, there's a lot of punk out there, and we love those things, and we're going to talk about them on the show. But we wanted to do a podcast for all those mainstream rock fans out there who just love everything rock, who kind of dabble in everything. And you know, we kind of already have these discussions anyways, Dave, when we're hanging out. This is how we talk.
This is all we talk about when we get together, like what record's coming out, who produced what, who's getting screwed over, who's not getting enough love, who's getting too much love. That'll be a big topic on here. Who's getting too much attention in the world of rock and roll, you know?
Right, for sure. So this is just kind of an extension of what we do already, and we're glad that you guys are joining us here on the inaugural episode of this podcast. We're very excited. We've been talking about it forever, and now it's finally happening. This is fantastic.
It's here. We're together. We haven't seen each other in like almost 6 months.
I know. We've known each other. We've known each other since we were 12, 13 years old. And this is the first time we've been apart, man. It's horrible.
It's horrible. Just the distance, the lack of creativity, and the fact that we have to stoop to these levels is unbelievable, that it's a year later and we're talking over Zoom.
I know, but we're making it happen. So let's give the folks a rundown of the of kind of the overall structure of this podcast. We're going to kick things off with what we call the opening acts, which are three of the latest topics in rock music news, and then we're going to get to what we call the headliner, which is going to be the main discussion that we have coming up. We're going to be talking about Chevelle, who've released 9 studio albums, saying they haven't made any money from the sale of 6 million units over their long career. So that'll be coming up in the headliner on today's show. But first, we're going to get to a story. Dave, these NFTs, have you heard about these NFTs? It's all the rage right now in rock music. In general.
Crypto crazy.
Yeah,
it's crypto crazy right now in the world, man.
Crypto crazy. So this guy, the TikTok star, his name is, I hope I get this right, Nathan Apodaca. He got famous for skateboarding while drinking ocean spray on TikTok to the tune of Fleetwood Mac's Dreams. And he's joining this NFT craze by selling his latest video, or I guess maybe selling that original video, for $500,000. That's his intention. But Stevie Nicks, of course, of Fleetwood Mac, has blocked the use of this song in the NFT. And I can't really blame her, but you know, we've been reading about NFT. Like, I didn't even know what it was. I don't think I still know what it is.
There's two things. You know. Do you want to start with what Fleetwood Mac and she should do about it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so what we can actually, I think that it's great that this is happening, and there's a few things that are confusing about it because it is a new thing and people aren't really sure how to handle it. But pretty much like an NFT is a non-fungible token, which means that it's a limited quantity of something. That's all it is. So, you know, it gives opportunities to make one-offs of pieces of art, or, you know, there's a million things you can do with it. How creative you get is kind of the fun of it, because it's endless on what you can create. But for their situation in particular, I think that she shouldn't be so hung up on the fact that they're using the song. And I think that she should actually try to make the deal with the guy and get a cut of the NFT, because if he's going to sell this token for a pretty penny, I don't know how much he was trying to sell it for, but it's probably
$500,000. Yeah.
So, $500,000.
Yeah.
Well, I think that it's probably been a while since that band and Stevie Nicks has seen $500,000 come in their way from music sales, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
So I think that she should, and they should, talk to this guy and get in on this deal, because absolutely they should be paid because it's their song. but there's a you don't want to grandpa into this situation. You want to kind of approach it with open arms and try to make the most out of it. That's my opinion, and I'm hoping that if I was in a position, obviously they don't need the money, but when something is culturally relevant, that's kind of what you're aiming for the entire time, anyways. So if you actually hit something that is culturally relevant without trying, jump on that wagon, man. And don't be a dick about it either. The guy made the video. Don't take half.
Right.
Don't take half. Don't be an ass. We understand it's a song, but get $100,000 out of the 500 or something. But
it's true.
Don't make the guy go broke. Let the guy have his 15 minutes. You don't need the money. So that's what I think about it. Now, NFTs in particular. There's a few things. Hold on. What do you think of that? What do you think of what they should do?
The thing, Mick Fleetwood did his own take of the video back. I think it was some point last year, which was kind of their way, I guess, of acknowledging, the popularity of the video. And the thing about these NFTs is that I'm not really sure, what the value is. And I understand the logic of it. And I understand why people think that it might be a good investment, but it seems a little bit, it just seems a little bit kind of, I can't even find the word.
It doesn't seem
solid. It is a little bit sketchy. It seems a little bit, it doesn't seem as solid as people would believe it is. And so I'm wondering if this guy, I think half of the appeal of his original TikTok video is the fact that he did use that Fleetwood Mac song. So
sure.
I can understand that maybe the video maybe doesn't even have as much value without the song. So, but I agree, maybe if Fleetwood Mac was a little bit more savvy to so there's so many artists like Bob Dylan and people like that who are selling their catalogs. If they really kind of want to cash in on that at this point in their career, they can still do that. But I don't know what.
Well, the way to look at it really is that the people have figured out a way to make a one of a kind situation based on intellectual property. So it's like anytime you have intellectual property now, you could anytime you have an idea, you could capture that idea and sell that idea. That's pretty much all that's happening. And I get what you're saying. It is a very sketchy, murky water right now in a system that hasn't really been fully developed. But there are a few things that I really like about NFTs. And the first one is Ticketmaster for years has been double dipping on selling tickets. So how Ticketmaster works, I'm sure everybody's aware that when you buy tickets, you get charged a service fee. But what a lot of people don't know is that Ticketmaster will hold or sell bulk number of tickets to scalpers, and then they let them resell them on a platform that is actually owned by Ticketmaster. So Ticketmaster is selling the ticket to the scalper and making a percentage, and then making a percentage on the resale value of the ticket on their own platform. So all that's doing is fucking over fans and screwing over bands, because bands are selling a ticket at $20, and really the promoter's making 60, 70, 80, 90, whatever, $200, $500 off of this ticket. And none of that money is going back to the person that's performing or creating the art they're supposed to be paying. So what NFTs can do is, because it's more sanctioned and because it follows, I think it's the blockchain method, like the crypto, it's more regulated. So that can't happen because there's a transparency in crypto with blockchain. So if that's the case, then that stops. And to me, as a musician, I think that's fantastic, because for years, everybody's been taking what they can, and this kind of narrows it down. And I agree, memes and silly TikTok videos, I don't know what the value of those are. But for things like ticketing and Ticketmaster and trying to take the power back as musicians, I think that it's a win-win if it keeps progressing the way it's progressing.
Right. And we know the Kings of Leon recently just did some NFT stuff with their new album, When You See Yourself. So it definitely is something that musicians are dabbling in. I was actually reading the other day that Rain Maida of OLP, of Our Lady Peace, is really into the NFT thing, and he's been kind of pioneering a lot of things with that as well, kind of in the music sphere. So we'll see how it goes. It feels still kind of nebulous to me. That's the word I was looking for, nebulous. It's a fancy
nebulous,
word. Nebulous. But we'll see how it goes, and we'll see if more musicians kind of get into that. I do agree that especially in terms of artwork, maybe not so much music, but in terms of pieces of art, that a lot of
Sure.
artists have been using that to mint their, check out this lingo, mint this NFT. I can't believe I'm saying these words that I didn't even know existed before. But
2021, bro. 2021. That's all
I can't believe it. I'm too old for this shit. Speaking of too old for this shit, maybe I'm too old for Greta Van Fleet. And I know I've been knocking them a long time because I think they're kind of a blatant Led Zeppelin ripoff, but they've released this new song called Broken Bells. And for the first time, critics online are saying that it might not be 100% totally annoying. So I'm wondering if you've heard this song. Can Greta Van Fleet shake off this reputation of sounding like Led Zeppelin? Because I do like this song, but I still can't get over the whole Led Zeppelin thing. It's a big hurdle for me.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily a fan of the product that band is putting out or that label's putting out with doing what they're doing with them. To me, it seems very built and very manufactured. It just from the get-go, you get 21-year-old boys that are wearing, bell bottoms from their grandparents' closet. It seems very put together, but not in a good way, And that's not to rip on. They're good players, I'm sure. Like I've heard good things about their live show, and I'm sure they're great guys. But as for the packaging of the band, and they've moved on now too. It's not even that they sound like a Led Zeppelin ripoff. It's just like they sound like a 70s cover band. So like, if whether it's going to sound like Rush or it's going to sound like Zeppelin, right. It's going to sound like a B-side from whatever era of rock they want to jump in. And there's something to be said about that. And I'm personally someone who thinks a great song's a great song. So if they can wow me with a great song, then I'm more than happy to welcome them into the universe of rock. But up until this point, it seems kind of hacky and kind of tacky, and it's not a win for me.
It does seem a little bit insincere. And the song, the new song, Broken Bells, it's not bad. And it's, well, again, it always has to come with the disclaimer is that we realize that these guys know how to play and that they're a good band.
Sure.
But even with this new song, by the end of it, I'm like, okay, well, it sounds a little bit like Stairway to Heaven. And it's kind of hard for them, or at least for me, to shake that. And I think one of the things that I read online that I found that was interesting was that people were saying that Greta Van Fleet kind of appeals to rock fans who might, to me, they feel like they appeal to rock fans who feel like rock is dead, and that rock is only good if it has that classic rock sound to it. And I think, because it being 2021, that rock music has expanded in so many different directions, and there is a place for classic rock influenced bands because they're all over the place, and there are good examples of that. I think Rival Sons is a good example of that. I think there's lots of good bands that are in that realm of rock music that do it in a more original way. And it's hard for me to get into Greta Van Fleet because they're I call it more like imitation rather than inspiration, right? They're not just taking a cue from Led Zeppelin. They're literally just kind of aping Led Zeppelin. And so I'm hoping to get over it when it comes to this. They have a new album coming out called the Battle at Garden Gate, which is coming out in April. So I am hoping that there's something in there that I'm going to dig, but they still haven't convinced me. And I know that's going to make a lot of people upset because I think a lot of people see them as like the second coming of Led Zeppelin, or the second coming of great kind of classic rock. But I think you have to just maybe expand your search a little bit further, and you'll see there's a lot of great bands that are doing great things, and it's not just them. And I'm going to keep giving them another shot, but we'll see.
I think too, like we have to take into consideration why this has happened. Like you said, like it does seem like it's a rock and roll for the people that think rock is dead. And the reason for that is that's exactly what's happening. You're having a lot of headlining bands in North America and in England that are reaching their maturity, and they're not going to be headlining festivals every year anymore. And the agents and the executives at the labels know that that's a cash cow for them. And if it goes away, they don't have anybody to fill the void. The Stones are still touring. Bands don't last that long. That's just the way it goes. Only 2% will last more than 10 years. So, yeah, or less, so it's one of those things, and you're dealing with older guys in charge that are worried about the bottom line, and they're taking bands that fit kind of in a spectrum and then really molding them to be that next generation of festival band or headliner at most festivals for touring bands and stuff. But yeah, like there's other bands that fall into that. Like Cage the Elephant is another band that falls into that. But I'm not a huge Cage the Elephant fan, but I enjoy Cage the Elephant songs. So they've won me over. Greta Van Fleet, I don't know.
Yeah, I would say the jury's still out, and yeah, their new album comes out in April, and we'll take a listen. We'll see how it goes. But even with this new song that a lot of critics are saying is great. It is great. It's you can't knock the production value and the performances, but it's still a little bit meh for me. But
agreed.
All right.
Agreed. So, we're on the same boat.
We're in the same boat about Greta Van Fleet. So let's move on to the third and final opening act of this episode. And this one is kind of similar to the NFT conversation. It's a little bit more industry based about Spotify, everybody's favorite streaming service. I know I'm a Spotify subscriber. I'm not saying we're in no way sponsored by Spotify, but I am a subscriber. I do enjoy them, and obviously a lot of people are critical of the way that they collect royalties, or they seem to collect royalties and distribute them among artists. They don't seem to be very generous in that regard. So Spotify has launched a new campaign. It's called Loud and Clear, and this is their way of kind of becoming a little bit more transparent about their streaming platform and how they operate. But I was just going to ask you, Dave, is this business model that they have going right now, is this going to work? Even if they are transparent, okay, it's still clear that musicians and artists are not making enough money from the Spotify platform, even though that is the leading platform for people to listen to music. Do you think that this business model is going to work for musicians now that we're in a post-COVID-19 age where people can't tour, musicians can't get on the road, people behind the scenes? I don't think it's enough, even with this new campaign.
There's a lot there, man. There's a lot in Spotify. Like, I don't believe that the business model they currently run is going to last. Whether or not Spotify goes away or is bought up by someone else with a lot of money, like an Amazon, or which I think is probably what is going to happen. But when you get 1 million streams and they give you $4,000, and they tell you that they can't give you more than 0.0036 or 0.004 per stream, it's really fishy. And the problem why they can't pay it is because Spotify is so easily manipulated. Spotify is a very easy system to manipulate. So there's no real way to keep track of true numbers in Spotify. And this goes on at every level of music. There's manipulation on every level of promotion on that platform. So much so that they actually have different pay rates for what they consider to be premium streams and I'm not sure streams. And the fact that that's even a conversation, that there's different rates going around for the realism of the actual stream, it's bonkers in a business sense, because you're like, what do you mean? It's a stream, it's a stream. But they're aware that there's so much manipulation going on that they can't do it like that. So they cut it down to paid streams, and if you're from certain areas, they'll cut it down even more. It's a mess. The whole thing is a mess. I really think that in the long run, someone is going to acquire them, take them over, keep the fans engaged the way they are. Maybe it'll be Spotify by Amazon instead of Amazon. Whatever it is, the platform is valuable with the amount of people that are on it, but only if the people are real, Nick. Only if the people are real.
It's true.
So, like what I don't really know. I don't see how musicians can use it. And then there's the argument, well, it's a platform. If you drive people to it, then you'll make more money. And that isn't always the case either. We play in bands, and we run marketing campaigns and we do all those things. And we see how, some of the strategies that they put in place to say, take out your ad budget so that you can't compete with other people. And that's crippling. And for instance, for reference, like what I'm talking about is if I'm running an ad to go into Spotify for streams, so I'm like, hey, check out this new song, come check it out. If that landing page is followed by 4 advertisements in a row, no one is sticking around to listen to the beginning of your song, let alone 30 seconds of your song,
right?
So that you can get that stream. So if they have that vice script on everybody that doesn't allow you to even participate in the market that is heavily manipulated by the big guns with the big money, they kind of get to set the bar. The bigger labels get to set the bar. Like, if it was true numbers, maybe somebody with 50,000 actual streams would get a shot on a great placement on an algorithmic playlist. But that's not the case. They set the bar high because they know that people have to compete. So they dump in $1-2 million. So then all of a sudden, to be in the top 10 of those algorithms, you need to be pumping hundreds of thousands of dollars into promotional and marketing money just to get on the same page as them. So I hope that the transparency opens up. They are doing good things with pitching, that they're trying to take away payola, but I think it doesn't matter if the algorithms are based on streams and save rates. If they're manipulating the system, it doesn't matter if you're not taking payola. And people always ask, well, why doesn't Spotify just stop it? Why not just pull the plug and don't let them manipulate it and make it a fair market? And the reason why they don't is because they get paid by advertisers based on how much action's happening on their platform. So if they're constantly pumping Spotify full of money because they think their audience is so broad, Spotify's not going to be the one that pulls the plug on the thing. The only people that are getting hurt is the artists that are now getting their already low royalty cut lower and lower and lower and lower because of manipulation. So I just want a fair marketplace where my dollar's worth as much as a major label, just to be able to compete and getting some attention.
Right. It just feels like we've gotten so far in the Spotify direction as far as the way people have consumed music, because obviously you have things like Bandcamp Friday and the whole Bandcamp platform, which is great. I think for more established artists, I think it's a little bit harder for up and coming artists to say that Bandcamp or something like that is going to be their main platform when so many people subscribe to Spotify, and that's where everybody is going in terms of it's either that or they're the equivalent, whether that be Apple Music or something like that, Amazon Music. Streaming in general is always going to be that easier avenue because of the price and because of the ease of access, but not necessarily, the best place for artists in general, because, we've talked before about, more artists, I think Big Rec, Ian Thornley and Big Rec just launched their own Patreon. Right. And so they're realizing the value, especially, when they can't get on the road, of getting their fans into that subscription model, which is solely based on them. And it seems like that might be an option too, because if bands want to get outside of that Spotify ecosphere, they can maybe, start to establish their own Patreons, which is going to be more direct to fans, and fans can support bands in a more direct way on a continual basis, because it might not even that individual record sale, whether that, if it's not a stream, even that individual sale of an LP or a CD or a digital download or something like that, that's still not a lasting purchase. And then, still in 2021, even if you're not going to use Spotify, you still have to keep fans on the drip a little bit, I think. Right. You have to keep them engaged on a continual basis. As much as I hate that the founder of Spotify was talking about how, artists need to put out music more frequently than just every couple of years. And I agree that, I personally, as a music fan, I would love bands to just, my favorite bands to keep putting out new music on a continual basis, but it can't be in service of, this machine that is not rewarding you. It needs to be in service of your fan base and the people that are going to be there for your music long-term.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that anybody, any artist or any band or anything can do right now based on this thing is stop caring about the numbers for that. Like for streaming and stuff, stop
Right.
caring. Get your music in front of somebody, give them your music, get their contact, and build it one brick at a time, one person at a time. You don't need 200 million fans to be a working artist and to make money. If you can get your numbers to 10,000 people that care about the shit you do, and that, when you release a new piece of merch or a new song or a new video, they're going to share it, they're going to check it out, they're going to it that's all you need. It really truly is. Like if you can have 10 cities that you can fill theaters, that's your tour, man. Like you don't have to be in Indonesia now or in Australia or Japan. Like find your market, get in front of them, gain their trust and their loyalty. Way better. I'd rather have 10,000 people that do everything I ask than 200 million people that
Right.
listen to my song once and never, like, who are you? Like, so yeah, it's crazy. It's a really messed up system though.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's all over the place, but we'll continue to monitor the
Yeah.
situation as
More to come. More to come.
yeah, more to come, less money to come from Spotify, more
Absolutely.
transparency and less profits for
Yeah.
artists in general. So those are our three opening act topics for the night for the podcast. I was thinking like if you're actually at a show, three headliners, you'd probably be pretty tired, but you know what?
Be rocking out.
It's
Yeah.
like
I think
when's
three
the
beers
headliner
deep,
coming
four
up?
beers deep.
Yeah, it's like what's going on here? So let's get to this week's headliner topic, and this one is a big one, especially when it comes to rock music. Chevelle just released their new album. It's called I always get it wrong, or I think I'm going to say it wrong. It's called Naratias, and it's not actually. I said in my rock album review on the YouTube channel that it's not actually some epic album name like it, like a Lord of the Rings thing or something. It's actually an acronym for Nothing is Real, and This is a Simulation. So that's what the album is called.
Very music.
It's their ninth studio record. It's very cool. I listened to it. I did a review on the channel. Fantastic record. Like Dave, you're a Chevelle fan. Exactly. They do what they do so well. And this album definitely has some really great tracks on it. But the singer of the band, Pete Loeffler, was saying that despite their 9 studio albums, they've been around for 20 years at least. They've sold 6 million units. They said that they've hardly made any money in their career, mostly due to signing bad contracts earlier in their career, major labels, taking the majority of the profits from these kind of bogus record deals. And I kind of found it hard to believe because, these guys have made it, obviously this might be outside of their touring career because obviously they've made some cash on the road, but I found it kind of hard to believe that they didn't make any money or they still don't. Obviously record deals are a big part of that, but what did you make of this whole situation of them saying they didn't really make any money off their records?
Personally, it's the same old story, really, isn't it? Like it's a band that you expect to be like in the last 20 years. Like even in our country, in Canada, and in our network of bands and stuff, we know guys that are playing drums at Madison Square Garden, and then the next night are peeling potatoes at a restaurant down in the Village. That happens all the time. So this band in particular, though, like a band that we're both fans of and have followed for 20 years.
And they're like a big American rock band. Like these guys are
big
not
American rock band. Like these are bands that while we're making music, we're looking at the traction they're getting and where are they going? Who are they playing with? How many records are they selling? Like those are things that we're watching all the time. And it's shocking, man. But I think it's more apparent now than ever that being with a major label and having those resources at your disposal sometimes gets you in deeper than you thought you would be. And let's be honest, like we know what happened here. You get an advance to make a record. They give you a couple $100,000. You split it up between the guys. You pay for some recording time. You buy some new gear. That money goes away, but that money's all recoupable. So you're paying that back. You're not seeing any album sale money until that's all paid back. Same with tour support. To be a band at that level and be on the road and be playing festival after festival around the world, you don't just jump into that role. You have to be molded into that situation in your career. So when you're doing that, you need a lot of financial backing, and the record label's a bank. That's all they're doing. They're banking you with the hopes that their investment will pay off bigger for them than it does for you, really, because you're a dime a dozen. And if it doesn't work with you, it'll probably work with somebody else. So
Yeah.
they view it as, you're lucky we're giving we're opening our pockets for you. And bands see it as, it's a payday, but it's really not, because you have to pay back the money anyways. So you sign a 5 record deal where you're getting $100,000 a record to do it, and by the third record you realize you should be getting $3 million a record to do it, but you're not turning over enough records for them to think that's just to give you that next advance at that level.
Yeah.
I get it, man. Like, it's surprising, because it's a band that we both love and respect and would look up to as like, wow, that's a great live rock band. But in the world of music, but that being said, they haven't not made money. They're a touring act. They're one of the biggest hard rock acts of the last 20 years, really. So, they do get to make that live revenue. They do make merchandise revenue, but you better believe that the labels have a hand in all of it, especially any contracts in the last 10, 15 years. They're not getting everything, but you make your sacrifices. You sign the deal with the devil. Who knows what's going to happen, man?
Yeah.
You'd end up selling 60 million or 6 million records and not seeing a pen. Who knows?
No, it's true. And well, the fact that they've been able to make 9 records is a pretty cool feat. The fact that they've managed to sustain their career. I don't know whether they, in terms of their trajectory as a band, I know they kind of hit it big in the early 2000s with the Wonder What's Next album. That was their big, with record. The Red and Send the Pain Below and those tracks. And, they've still maintained their active rock radio status over the years. I remember, being on the air and doing, and hearing, Take Out the Gunman and Hats Off to the Bull and songs like that on the air. So it's, they still have a presence and they're still able to make records. I think that their deal might be coming to an end, so they might be able to take some more control of that situation. But I
heard that too. That they're probably going to do their own thing. So that's good for them. That they finally, can put out some vinyls and do it. Now they're going into what I guess would be their 3rd decade or maybe their 4th decade as a band. I'm not sure if they started in the late 90s or if it was mostly in the 2000s, but their new record is cool. And as far as active rock goes, with big riffs and big drums and the things that we enjoy, it's a great record. And so I think they have a good career ahead of them, and hopefully they can, like we're saying with any of these other bands or with any band in general, artists, trying to carve out that piece of the audience that can sustain you. And it's not necessarily about always having things on. You hope things go on an upward trajectory, but as long as you have your fan base and they keep coming back for more, and provided they can get back on the road eventually, that would be nice as well. Absolutely. Yeah. I think, and something's to be said about how many artists are in this position, and how important it is when bands come to your city to, go see the band, buy a t-shirt and stuff, because, we talk about it all the time, man. Like we get to see how the sausage is made all the time. And sometimes when you're in Oz, you don't want to look behind the curtain.
Yeah,
because it's an old fat guy that's pulling some levers.
Yeah.
And most of the topics today, it's just some old guy pulling some levers. So, or pushing some buttons. So it's one of those things, man. Sometimes you don't want to see, because like it's weird too, because like guys that are on the top 1% of bands in this country, in our country, that still sleep on their sister's couch when they come home, or and drive a broken down car, and you'd be like, "There's no that guy from that band." Like you would never imagine in your life. But that's so.
It's not.
It's amazing. It always blows my mind when you don't know what anyone's situation is until they tell you.
Yeah.
So it's surprising. It's disappointing. Like obviously the industry got another one. But like you said, they're still young guys. Like I think they're not even 40 yet. Like they're still in the prime of writing. Like hell, if the Stones are going to their 80s, they could have a whole other career ahead of them. Like realistically, if they take control, probably not if they don't make money off any of the records in their contract. But if they take control of their shit and they do the grind, and they have great leverage right now. They're coming out of 20 years of major label backing and major label radio support. So their songs are going to get an extra look when they go to radio. That publicists are going to give them an extra look because they probably already written about them. So they're in a good position. And hopefully they keep going, because I'd like to hear more music.
And that is it for our headliner this week, talking about Chevelle and them not making any money off of their record deals. We hope they make more money in the future. Go for it, guys. Many, many happy returns. And that wraps it up for the Rock Squad podcast, our inaugural episode of the Rock Squad podcast. I can't believe we made it, Dave. Can you believe it?
We finally did it, my friend. It's been months and months, maybe even years in the making.
Yeah, for sure.
We finally got a chance to record what we talk about every day.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a lot of fun. And we'll be back every week talking about the latest in rock news. In the meantime, where can people follow you online, Dave?
I'm Red Coast Records on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Also, you can check out the Rock Squad Pod on Instagram, Twitter. Check out everything. And remember to go down and like this video, subscribe to our channel, spread the word, share the word, review it. Let's hear what you think about all these bands. What does everybody think of Greta Van Fleet? Are they the second coming, or is this just another flash fan situation where 20 years from now, Greta Van who?
We're gonna get ripped apart, Dave. They're very passionate about Greta Van Fleet on YouTube.
Who knows?
On the internet in general, I feel like we're treading into very dangerous waters here. Although we already did. We've already been there. We've already done that. So follow us on Rock Squad Pod online, and also Dave and I are in a band. I don't know if you can tell by the background in Dave's little room there. We're in a band called Fools Union here, based out of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, the Hammer, as they call it. And you can check us out at foolsunion.com. We're working on some new music. It sounds pretty cool. I think it's going to come out.
Spotify.
Yes, Spotify.
Go to Spotify. Check us out. We're on every platform. Go check us out.
We could use your 0.0000005 whatever on each of those streams. So check us out. Fools Union is the name of the band, and my name is Nick Sino. Yeah, and your name is?
I'm Dave Marini.
And what we're gonna do? What was gonna be our sign off? You mentioned it earlier, so we should probably
super easy. It's super easy. Every episode we're gonna do this. Rock on, Nick.
Rock on, Dave. All right.
Cheers.
We'll see you guys later. See ya.